All right, what's up, my brothers? In this video, we're going to be reacting to a limousine driver. Now, if you're unfamiliar, limo drivers do a lot of bachelorette parties and girls' nights out and that sort of stuff. I've talked in the past about the whole sugar and spice and all things nice narrative about women isn't necessarily very accurate or even true. I want to play this clip and give you some feedback and maybe some actionable advice so that you can vet problematic women a little bit better on a go-forward basis. But let's hear what this limousine driver has to say.
Worst trip ever. I chauffeured the pretend bachelorettes, and I'm hearing flagrant conversations, and I'm exposing everything. One of the married ones. Yeah, you know, on nights like this, I usually just move my ring from my ring finger to my pointer finger. Another newlywed. Yeah, you know, he's 58, tons of money, but I gotta have that kid. I need to secure my bag, sis. So the kid is nothing but an insurance policy, while she's passing her phone around bragging about her new tennis coach. You know, he's so ripped and so fit. I think he's like 27. I saw pictures of him too. That motherfucker looked like he had agility. You know, he's in there doing slides, side split squats, and oblique twists, all in that shit. Another one, IG model, dating the MLB baseball player. She goes, yeah, he's so sweet, he's always there, he does everything for me. He wants commitment, but I don't want nothing serious. When I go on these photo shoots and events, it's hard to control myself around all these male influencers. And then another one, single. It would be so nice to have a boyfriend, security, comfort, and her demon girlfriends are going, oh my God, no sis, it's summertime. Have your fun in the summer and settle down in the fall. Imagine being that poor guy she matches with come September, November on Hinge, that she just had her guts decimated by 35 dudes, and he's probably sending flowers to her job and shit. Oh wait, she doesn't even work because the apartment's already paid for by the other guy she's talking to. These chicks are more savage, cutthroat, colder than all you men out here combined.
Yeah, these are facts. I've always said guys like limousine drivers, doormen, strippers, they usually have the best insight on female nature. They're the most unplugged naturally, red-pilled if you will. And let me just take a quick look at some of the comments here. Of course, women always look for a better man when they have a man. Modern women are trash. Another guy said, that's why you marry a 6 out of 10 Southern girl whose idea of a good time is lamp shopping at IKEA. And a gal named Ginger chimes in and says, I've been to both kinds of strip clubs. I can tell you, I was absolutely disgusted by the kind of behavior I saw women engaged in male strip clubs. Way worse than men. Married, middle-aged women acting like animals. I'd never go back. All right, well, let's have a conversation about what our limousine drivers said over here. That clip, when I shared it on my social media, garnered a few million impressions. So it just goes to show you how interesting and important a lot of these conversations are that you never hear in the mainstream, man. It's like nobody ever shares these stories. This is one of the great things about social media these days is you actually have, you know, like a platform or even a place where you can go and hear guys talk about stuff like this. I've had 2 male strippers talk to me on my podcasts about their experiences dealing with women, and in this particular instance he's talking about a bachelorette party. It's all the same thing. The whole narrative about sugar and spice and all things nice and good girls and all that sort of stuff. I've said this many times, guys. There's no such thing as good girls. There's just bad girls that haven't been caught yet. The only time that you're going to find quote-unquote good girls, and it's rare, it's not like they don't exist, you know, as they would say in the mining industry, you got to dig through a lot of dirt to find gold. You got to find them when they're not corrupted, when they've got a good relationship with their father, when they respect his boundaries, you know, they're pure still. They haven't been, I hate to say it, run through. It is what it is. Some of the stories this guy was sharing, you know, the gal that marries a 58-year-old guy that wants to get the bag by having his kid. Women know that having a man's child is far, far better security because you can contract out of alimony, right? Like you can have a prenup signed. They usually work, sometimes they don't, but let's just say that, you know, they usually work. But if you have a kid with a guy, you can't contract out of child support. And if you marry a rich guy as a woman, an older rich guy who's successful, and you secure that bag by having his kid, like he was explaining as he overheard in the back of his limousines, then that's a pretty good deal. And you see this a lot. You see a lot of younger girls getting with older guys, and then they have a kid together, and then it usually doesn't work out very long, or the knot's untied and she moves on or gets bored or whatever, calls him controlling or something like that. There's always some narrative that pops up that she doesn't like, that she finds a reason to get out of the relationship for. But it is what it is. There's the got to get the bag girl, as he just sort of described. bride, who's also, by the way, being taken care of and has a tennis instructor who she's talking about overtly to all of her girlfriends in front of this limo driver, telling them how hot the tennis instructor is. So while this guy's paying for everything and her lifestyle, and she's supposed to be arm candy committed to him because they're married, she's out basically talking to her girlfriends about how she's probably going to cheat on her new husband with the 20-something-year-old Chad tennis instructor. Because that's just how things are, guys. Don't think for a second that it's a buffer for you to go and get married and she's never ever going to step out or do anything wrong on you. That's just the way that things are. And the sooner that you accept that the sun is hot, water is wet, you get what I'm saying here, and women are women, the sooner it is that you're going to be in a better position where you're like, oh, okay, so I see things for the way they are. I understand the conditions in which I'm operating within. I know what women are capable of. There's far too many guys out there, my dudes, that get caught up with chicks that think, oh, she's different or she's special. Like I said, unless she's been living with her family and she's Amish or something, or there's been strong boundaries set and she's respected them and she's a quote-unquote good girl, there are no good girls. You know, if she's been out in the world, she's been corrupted. It's why you hear a lot of these like top shelf kind of like extremely wealthy alpha male type of gurus out there saying, I don't want anything to do with a woman that's had a past, that's dealt with guys in her past. I want no baggage or as little baggage as possible. I want a woman that's pure or as pure as possible so they're not dealing with the corrupted mind. The more of these bachelorette parties they go to, the more of these nightclubs that they go to, the more of these summer trips and Greek island summer trips and Cancun for a week and the foam cannon parties that they go to, the more nefarious things happen. And they don't walk around with a t-shirt that has a resume telling you everything that they've done. They don't have an odometer on their forehead that tells you their notch count. You have to like kind of look at their lifestyle and their past and sort of figure this out. You know, it's been said that women are always very interested in a man's future. I'm sure the gal, this limousine driver, was talking about that married the 58-year-old rich guy that she wants to secure the bag from, married a guy that's obviously got his act together for a reason. And the deal was basically he gets access to her beauty and purportedly purity, because that's what the deal used to be. It's not anymore. You got Jeff Bezos, who just married a 55-year-old single mom that's been through everything. Spent $50 million on that wedding this past weekend in Italy. And it's like, you're not getting the deal that you used to get. So you got to be very careful with these situations, guys. You got to pay attention to them. And then you get like the good girls in the crowd. They're like, I just want the boyfriend, like the limousine driver was saying. I just want the boyfriend. I just want to be with a guy. I just want to be loved, sort of thing. And all the girls in the limousine are like, no, girl, it's hot girl summer. Run around, have fun, be with a bunch of dudes, and then lock a guy down at like November. Well, it's cuffing season then. That's when you go out and get the guy. And it's like, you really should be judging a woman by the company that she keeps, by the activities that she pursues. I remember sitting across the table from this gal, and, you know, the notion of a bachelorette party came up because we were at a social event with a whole bunch of people, and bachelorette party marches in and goes upstairs to the private room. I'm like, I look over my buddies because they know me and what I do, and I'm like, oh, you know what's going to happen tonight with those girls? This gal across the table, she goes, oh, that's not true. You know, I've been to bachelorette parties. They're not like that. I was just in one in Miami and nothing bad happened. Everybody behaved, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, chicks just say that shit. You know, the sisterhood is a real thing. Women will always protect other women. They just do. And that's fine. Guys aren't like that, unfortunately. And I've always said, like, two of the most dangerous guys to have in your inner circle to be around are guys that are obsessed with getting laid and guys that can't get laid, because they'll both throw you under the bus for no reason. And, you know, chicks are always protecting the other girls. Oh, you know, women aren't like that. Those sorts of things don't happen, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, until you spend 2 hours on a podcast with a male stripper and he tells you that 85% of the time, 85% of the customers that he's dealing with when he's working indulge in him or his partner when they're going out to these events. And you know what I mean by indulge? I mean indulge. First base, second base, third base, home base. And sometimes it's even the bride-to-be, he was telling me. The bride-to-be. I said to him, have you ever been at a bachelorette party where women behaved? He said, there was one girl one time. He goes, and she just sort of sat there and she was quiet and she didn't really look happy and she wasn't present and she was distant. He goes, so I walk up to her and I'm like, hey, you know, you having a good time? Is there anything I can do to put a smile on that face? And she just said to him, you know, it's really not my thing. I don't really like these things. You know, I miss my boyfriend. I can't wait to get home. And she was that girl. She was that, quote unquote, an actual good girl. And he said, you know, it's because she was young and she was obviously not one of the problem children in the room, but he's like, everybody else was getting into it. Guys, you have to be very careful with chicks today. With the deregulated sexual marketplace, with the advent of birth control, with the you do what's right for you girl, with the 3 waves of feminism that we're living in, women can and do behave badly. And more often than not in all cases, not all women are like that, like some chicks like to say, but in many cases, you are going to run into situations where you're dealing with a chameleon, where they hold out to the public that they're all good and sweet and pure, but they ain't. They've seen and been through a lot. Now, to sort of vet this sort of stuff, there's a chapter in my book, which you can get for free. It's called the Red Flag Chapter. I'll pin it below in the top comment, and there's 21 red flags, which will help you identify potentially problematic women that you would not want to invite into your life in a long-term relationship. But I'm gonna tell you this, guys, the older you get, and you should download the chapter, it's totally free, but the older you get and the older women get that you date in your orbit, the more likely it is that you're gonna run into these chameleons that are holding out saying, hey, I've gotten right with God, I've made some bad decisions, maybe, quote unquote. They might admit that much. More often than not, they don't even admit that much. I want to do the right thing now, or maybe I'm not going to have any kind of intimacy until I'm married, sort of thing. Like all of a sudden they're born again virgins after spending their 20s or even 30s partying it up and doing all the nefarious things. And guys, it's not always older women that are like that. Sometimes the younger girls will get married at like 21, 22, 23 or something like that. But then 10, 12 years down the road, or even 7 years, I call it 7-year itch, down the road, they get bored and they want to untie the knot. For whatever reason, they're bored. He's controlling, which usually just means, that she didn't like his boundaries. He financially abused me, which usually just means he set a budget that she didn't like, whatever. And then they want to untie the knot and they want to go and explore their party years again, 38 or something like that, or 32. It doesn't matter. You have to watch very carefully about a woman's past. Like I said earlier, women are very interested in men's futures. They want to know, does this guy have the capability to pay for Does he have money? Can I lock down that bag by having his kids, sort of thing? Men, on the other hand, you need to be very, very interested in her past. What did she spend her youth doing? What did she spend her 20s doing? What did she spend her 30s doing? What kind of job does she have? It's well known by many people out there that there's a number of professions that are highly promiscuous. The top 2 that come to mind, nurses and airline stewardesses, right? You hear a lot of guys tell a lot of stories about the level of promiscuity that a lot of women have that they sort of like hide away. I mean, if you're an airline stewardess, you can hide a lot of shit. Another one, tied into nursing is like travel nurses. Travel nurses are like, some of the stories that I've heard, like I would need 3 or 4 hours to share all of these stories that guys have shared with me. But it's a reality of life. And before I close up on this, I just want to say this. A lot of you guys out there, you've watched my content, maybe you've joined my community. You've gone through the material. You've nodded your head and you said, yes, I've squared away my mind now, Rich. I understand what you're saying. I've learned. And then at some point, I see a picture of them on social media, putting a woman up on a pedestal. That's a single mom with 4 kids from 3 different fathers, talking about how did they get so lucky to meet that chick. She's got more red flags than a Chinese communist parade. And I'm just sitting there going, oh my God, are you kidding me, guys? Like, you're reverting back to this nonsense. Why? Because she touched your pee-pee? Come on, guys. Have some dignity for yourselves. You learn all these things and you level up and you become better, all to revert back to like the lowest possible denominator and invite chaos into your life, to invite problems into your life that you wouldn't otherwise deal with if you were vetting properly. Some of these guys, they haven't completely unplugged. They haven't completely done all the work. They might still be fat. They might still have some plugged in beliefs that don't serve them. But guys, it's all about doing the work. I've said this many, many times to you. Do the work. Do the damn work. Level up. Hold yourself accountable. Have some dignity for yourself. Don't invite chaos into your life. A man with options doesn't invite chaos into his life. Shouldn't deal with these kinds of women that are going on bachelorette parties and trips. The kind of gal that I want to deal with on a long-term basis, she gets invited to a bachelorette party, doesn't even consider it. Doesn't even bring it up. Doesn't even think to ask me for my permission. Hey, Becky's having a bachelorette party. Would it be okay if I went to Vegas for the weekend or something like that? Like, wouldn't even bring it up. She would just opt out of it, or she wouldn't surround herself with women like that. Like, good women that are worth inviting into your life are the kind of women that don't say to you, hey, one of my friends from work or something like that's going to Italy for 6 weeks in the summer. Would it be okay if I went for a couple weeks with her? They wouldn't even think to put the relationship at risk because she sees you as the best option. Women that have genuine burning desire for you, they want to be in your proximity. They don't cost you a lot of money. They don't cost you a lot of time. They don't cost you a lot of grievance. Just being in your presence, even sitting down beside you on the couch, watching a TV show, or even a Top Gear episode because you happen to like cars, and she'll pleasantly be there in your orbit, if I can put it that way, happily. And that's enough for her. She doesn't demand things. She doesn't call you controlling. She doesn't say you're difficult. Doesn't call you insecure. Blah, blah, blah. Like a lot of that nonsense that some guys hear over time. And fellas, it's all about frame when it comes to stuff like that. You have to manage the frame of the relationship. There's under no situation or circumstance that a gal should ever be asking me, hey, I want to hop in a limousine with my girlfriends and go to this bachelorette party so that this dude sitting in the front seat can listen to my chick who's either polluted or is going to have her mind polluted by a bunch of promiscuous, thoughty chicks on that weekend, where the ring comes off the finger and goes on the index finger, or where they talk about their tennis coach and they're sharing photographs of that around with their other girlfriends, not talking about the guy that just invited her into his life and took care of her and did the right thing and was kind and sweet to her and gave her an upgrade in her lifestyle. There's no appreciation for that, guys. You'd think on some level women would be appreciative of that. And when they're on that bachelorette party with their girlfriends, they'd be praising the 58-year-old guy that invited this younger woman into his life and upgraded her life and improved it and everything. You'd think on some level that they would be appreciative, but they're not. And that's just how things are. Like I said earlier, sun is hot, water is wet, and that's just the way things are. Understand a lot of these notions, guys. And again, back to the point of the red flags. You can get into a long-term relationship with any chick. You can do it. But you're going to have a much better experience and more likely be in your frame if she doesn't bring the red flags from that chapter I talk about in my book, if she's younger, if she's pure, if she doesn't have a past, and you don't have to deal with any of that baggage. Because trust me, guys, it is baggage. A lot of women will point and sputter, you have baggage, you need to go to therapy. Blah, 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 blah. That's all it is. Blah, blah, blah. When they got nothing, they just point and sputter. They just have blah, blah, blah. They just try to insult you. Oh, you're not a real man if you don't do this or that. Anyway, pay attention to stories like this, guys. Pay attention to your limousine drivers of the world, to the guys that have worked as male strippers. Another group of guys that I find is very interesting, aside from doormen as well, is tattoo artists, because they're often sitting there in a chair for several hours at a time. And there's that too. There's a whole bunch of stories that I have on that as well. Anyway, check out the top pinned comment. If you want to get squared away and absolutely right in life, guys, I've got a school. It's called the School of Unplugging. It's $49 a month. You can cancel at any time. Tons of amazing material in there. Weekly Zoom calls. I have a team of experts that help you with everything from LinkedIn resume building to investing to vetting to dating to upgrading your Instagram, all that stuff. Check that out. It's called the School of Unplugging. We'll see you guys later. Have an awesome one. Peace out.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up.